All right. So here on another broker call on Mondays. One big thing regarding broker calls that I'm actually curious about, and I think it's the easiest way for us to kind of like navigate this is like what are some of the objections or the hurdles or obstacles with talking to a broker?
Um, for me, I think it's the lingo, knowing, I don't want to call them and speak to them and then they think that, I'm just a tire kicker. I don't really know what I'm talking about. And, you know, they just tell you whatever to kind of brush you off.
Okay, so there's a few things. The same way we've never talked before. Okay. Just
Mm-hmm.
having casual conversation. It's essentially what you're doing with these brokers. You want to be their friends. One of the brokers I'm talking to is a GP on my deal. Like he's
Oh.
gonna be part of my team. That wasn't the intention. It just happened that way.
Uh-huh.
You know, um, which is great for him, great for me. And how much more can you show that you believe in a deal than being a part of it? Guess what happens every deal he finds going forward? He's been a commercial broker for years now. Actually, a long time, I think. But the idea is like now I know every deal, like we're creating a team now. Like this isn't just like
Right.
a one deal, like we're changing our lives by the deal at this point and hopefully doing multiple. But it all started with just becoming like it built over time. It was pretty quick, to be fair, but it was definitely something that happened over time, like phone call. Like, and I think a lot of it is if you know having an idea of what you to talk about helps.
Uh-huh.
Um, getting the education part down, I think is important, but you realize the more reps you put in, the more second nature becomes. Like
Uh-huh.
this kind of becomes like a language in a sense. It's like, yeah,
Uh-huh.
you can learn as much as we want, but until we put it to action, it's kind of pointless. That's how I look at least that's me. I'm a person who has to try something in order to get better at it. You just tell me how to do
Right.
it, I'm not gonna learn. Like I need to fail. Like I need to try it, mess up again. Okay, I got a little better. Okay, now let's keep going. Let me just keep putting the reps in, and then I'll get like it becomes easier. And trust me, I've gotten on calls, and this happened even like after I had done a lot of calls. It was about a deal. I got ruined. I've never been so defeated in my life. I was like, oh, this guy just punched me in the face and kicked me in the stomach and took the like I was beat up. Like it was bad. I was like, wow. But I learned a lot from it. Like it was a terrible call. Like I've never been punched in the face so bad in my life. Um,
Oh, wow.
like it was brutal. I was just like, oh my God. Because I was talking to someone we were hoping to bring on as an investor. Like that was bad. And these people operate thousands of units and all that stuff. And it was like a gut punch. I was like, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, why am I here? But it was a great practice. I was like, okay, like I'm happy. It sucked in the moment, but I was like, I'm happy it happened. Like I was able to put in, like, I had all eyes on me, and then I just fell flat on my face. I was like, whatever, it happens. Um, but then I was more prepared the next time. And that's why putting in the reps I think is so important. Doing it just off of like even role play. I like the idea of role play, but unfortunately with role play, unless you find someone really good to do it with, the other person is always going to be too nice. Like I'm the guy who's always too nice on a role play. Like I'm terrible as a seller or broker. So I'm just a nice guy. Like
Right.
I'm like I feel bad. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
be. Um, so Peter actually sent me a call. He's not able to be here today, but he did send me a call, and I actually just realized my background, but that I can share and we can play the video, the recording back. It does go a little long, but if at any point it's like too much, we can just we can stop it. But as long as we get the point across, let me see.
Good. I appreciate you calling me. Sorry.
Were you guys able to hear that when I played it?
Yes.
Beautiful. Sweet. All right. So we'll play that, and then if you guys have questions or at any moment, either raise your hand through the reactions feature on the bottom, or just raise your hand and I'll see it. And I can pause it. So it goes a little long, but we'll stop it if we feel like it's got the point across. I haven't heard it yet, so I have no idea what's gonna happen. So let's have fun with it. But he said it was a good call, and Peter always has good calls, so I trust him.
I was trying to hang up and I was in your voicemail and couldn't answer your call, but anyway, I'm glad we connected. I'm calling you about, it looks like all single family homes. You've got 16 units. It's listed on Craigslist as 101 Glenwood Lane.
Yeah, there's been a couple of changes in that. I've broken it into two, and put it on the Greenville MLS. I haven't, and on a couple of my.
Are you guys able to hear the other person on the phone? Yeah.
It's
No,
it's easier to hear Peter, and a
Yeah.
little bit more difficult to hear what the broker is saying.
Let me see if I raise the volume, because it was a little choppy on my end. I'm just gonna raise the volume. Hopefully that helps.
Websites. I haven't changed it on Craigslist yet. So just
Gotcha.
looking at-
All right,
Yeah,
so
much better.
when you say you've changed it, you're selling it in two groups?
Yeah, I mean the one that I had, you said it was 16 properties.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I think I've sold 2 individually, and now it's down to 14, but it's 7 and 7, and it's broken down to where the rents are exactly the same. Value of the house, the way that I separated it up with my team and appraisers, is that the values are all the same. So it's equal packages. Both of them are $975 a piece.
Did you guys catch that little snippet of what the broker was saying?
What did he say that what $975 a piece?
Yeah, so essentially, I'm gonna try to paraphrase parts of it just so you guys have background info. It was originally 16 unit portfolio, and then the broker eventually decided to split it into two different portfolios, and now it's 975 each. I know it's not ideal, but let's just try to go through it, see if it gets a little more clear. And if there are any, at least as long as you hear what kind of Peter's saying, I can fill in the gaps with what the broker says if you guys can't hear.
975. Okay. And 7 houses each, you said.
Yeah, I can, if you have an email, I can easily send you the pro forma and E12 and all that stuff if you want to see the address and rent rolls, everything like that.
Yeah, I'll do that. So what can you sold 2 houses individually. Did you end up listing them all individually on?
No.
Okay.
I sold 2 of them doing. I have a lot of investors.
Yeah.
Young, newer investors.
Sure.
And they can't take down 2 million. You know,
Yeah.
they can't get the resources to just do that.
Yeah.
And my guy was like, my seller, he's like, I want to throw all or nothing. I was like, well, let's just, throw off 1 or 2, and then let's split it up because, with interest rates going as high as they are, a lot of people just can't do 2 million. And so
Right.
he let me sell 2 from 16 to 14, and then I broke it down in 2 different packages at 975, and have had a lot of interest since I've done that. I think that I'm gonna get it done for him in the next 3 to 4 months.
Gotcha. So based on that, I'm more of a multifamily guy, and that's, I'll be honest, it's not. I'm calling you for 2 reasons, right? I like the Greenville market. I went to school there. I'm hoping maybe you have access to some other properties there, multifamily. But I'm considering some of these, portfolios from older investors, because sometimes there's a lot of deferred maintenance and we can get a pretty good deal.
So I want to stop you right there real quick. I hope you guys were able to hear all that, because one thing I liked about that specific snippet was, hey, I'm calling about this. I usually focus on this, but I like it because of XYZ. They're like, okay, it kind of goes back to what we we're talking about earlier, where you kind of build that credibility in itself, where it's like, I know what I'm looking for, but it interests me because of this. And whether it does or doesn't, it's like, you don't go to a car dealership, say, I absolutely love this car. I only want this car. I want nothing else. guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna charge you the most. Because they know you're not gonna go anywhere else. They know if you want a Toyota Camry and you only want that car, guess what? No matter how much better of a deal the other cars are, or if they know you're not considering anything else, guess what you're overpaying for? Is that car, because they know you love it and that's all you want. That's kind of the analogy I look at it. It's like, hey, I like this. This isn't necessarily my wheelhouse. It's not where I focus, but I see an opportunity. I'm never going to turn that down. Can we make something happen? I think that's really important, and goes back to the whole like kind of building that credibility, is leading the conversation. Like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Knowing a little bit about the property and what you're calling about helps a lot. One thing I like to do, and kind of like spilling into tomorrow's call with napkin underwriting, is when you do the napkin, not only does it help you with knowing to pursue the deal more or not, but it does also help you with, okay, these are the additional questions I need answered to even go further. Like, I can't proceed even if I wanted to. So now I've created a list of questions that I can comfortably ask the broker, and I have control of the conversation. Hey, I noticed that you don't have this. Hey, I noticed this. I just want to re-verify it. Has anything changed in the last month? You know, oh, you have taxes on there. Depending the market, sometimes taxes are reassessed only on purchase. Sometimes they're reassessed every 5 years, sometimes every 10 years. If you know the market you're investing in, that's something very easy to find out. And I hope you know it anyway. If you're investing in a market, you should know the tax rules. 1,000,000%. If not, your numbers are all going to be wrong anyway. So when you bring up those questions and you start asking them, all of a sudden they're just like, oh, I'm talking to another investor. And it then becomes very easy. Like, if they ask you something like, hey, let me connect with my team. Let me get you more information on that. Let's reconnect. I think the worst thing you can do on a broker call is leave the call without something set, like a plan set for when the next time you guys are going to talk is. Like, if every broker call you hang up and you have no idea when you're supposed to call this person again, or you have no plan of when the next time you're going to talk to this person is, that's a problem, because you're probably not going to do it. I know I won't. I'll forget. I'll either forget or be like, what's the point? Like, we don't have a plan, you know? Every time we finish a call with our team about a property, we always have an idea of what we're doing before our next call and when that next call is. We have a to-do list on our drive. Everyone sees it. Obviously, I'm not saying it that in depth with a broker you're talking to for the first time, but it's like, hey, I'm gathering this information. I'm going to run some numbers. Let me talk it over with my business partner and the team. And how is it okay if I call you Wednesday? And set up a time. Wednesday doesn't work, cool. At least you know you're not wasting your time. So if you just call them, now you're thinking, oh, they're avoiding me. It's like, no, actually, they just weren't available. We didn't know it. So let's see what the rest of this call's got.
I have a question.
Cool.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I probably should have stopped. I should have asked that sooner, but thank you for jumping in. Go for it.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so I plan on calling a broker this week, and it's a property that I underwrote, and I'm not specifically interested in that property. However, I'm going to call, and that will be the conversation started, the property. So that being said, like, how would I circle back to him, although I'm not interested in that specific property?
Okay, perfect. I love that, because that's usually going to be the case, to be fair. Here's the thing. Why don't you like the property?
Well, the numbers are not penciling out, first of all, for one thing.
Okay. Which
yeah.
numbers on it?
Huh?
What numbers? Like, what about the
Well, the purchase price. So we think what they're asking for is at least $200,000 to $300,000 more than what it should be in order for the
so
deal.
what's the purchase price?
That one, I think they have it. It was like 1.1. Yeah.
So is it the purchase price is too high? Now, is it because are you off by that 200 to 300 from what you're willing to offer based on? Is it like the tax increase is a factor of it? Is it the rehab budget? Is it you don't think rents could get high enough? or which one of those?
Yeah,
Or-
so there's
something else.
definitely not, you can pretty much, well, what the broker is saying, the performer, is that, you can increase the rent by $50 a unit, which is not significant. So I think the rents are pretty much almost at market. $50 is not a significant, increase. And so with the income that is generated now and then the expenses, like the debt service coverage ratio, we're not hitting those parameters. So I mean, I doubt if any lender will actually loan.
Perfect. So, okay, you know enough about the property to have a good conversation. Why I wanted to know more about it is because you said two things that allows you to talk about this property, explain to this broker why it wouldn't work for you, and then say, hey, do you have anything else?
Mhm.
Hey, okay, so Mr. or Mrs. Broker, I see that you have a small margin of increase on the rents. For me, there's not enough upside there. You're not saying it's overpriced. You're just saying, for me, there's not enough upside. I want it to make sense for my investors. They need to see enough of a spread where they get a return that's worth having their money sit in a property. I'm not telling you it's overpriced. I'm just saying, do you think those rents are conservative or are they aggressive? Like, enlighten me, like, help me out there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm no expert. Like, you're the listing agent. You know the property better than I do. And I'm not saying you say all this, but that's my thought process. I'm just thinking out loud right now. And if they say, no, it's a little on the lower end, we just want to be safe with the number. Okay, what do you think the upside, like, not maybe super aggressive, but a little more optimistic? How would that look? Does that make the numbers make sense? And even then, I'm not saying go after the property, but it's for a conversation. You're being educated on the area, which is never a bad thing, in my opinion. And then once you say all that, yeah, cool, my spread isn't there. I need X, whatever. If it's like, I need this return, I need this many units, I'm looking in an area similar to this. You spent the time to underwrite it for a reason. You didn't do it because you felt like it. Well, if you're doing it for practice, then I always respect that. But it piqued your interest for a reason. Then you just turn around and say, hey, I'm looking for something similar, just a little more upside. We want more room, more margin. You're not telling him I hate this deal, or you overpriced it, or your seller's crazy. It just wasn't right for me. There is someone that's gonna come in and be like, this is the exact deal I want. You know, and that's how you relate. You don't tell them you're a bad agent, you overpriced it, or your seller's crazy, you're never getting that. Which I've told to a broker, it's not fun, but it leads to funny conversations. And it was local, so it doesn't matter. No one likes buying California, as you guys can all imagine. And I have an LA guy here, which I'm happy about. So you get what I'm going through. But you're telling them, look, it's just not right for me. But since you're an agent in the area, I want to make a connection and see if you have anything else. Whether it's off market, coming soon, keep me up to date. I'll follow up with you in a couple of days or a week even. Hey, you got anything new? Or is this a good number to text? Do you mind if I shoot you a quick text once a week to see if you have anything coming on the market? Would appreciate it. Take them to lunch if you're nearby. I know Peter actually does that. The broker I'm working with now, the first time I met his buyer rep agent, who is the one that connected me with the head broker, I met him on a Zoom. He was at my buddy's house, being wine and dine. Like, I haven't even gone to lunch on my friends. I've never been there. Obviously, we're a different coast. But I was like, hey, like, I want lunch. My buddy literally invited him to his house and made lunch for him. And that's how we ended up meeting these brokers who have found us one deal that was very close to happening, but we got outbid, and to one deal that's like on the doorstep of happening. And it's just creating a relationship. That might be a little extreme, to be fair, but take them out for lunch. What's the difference? Be calculated with them. Not saying go to lunch every day of the week with a different broker. You're probably gonna, one, hate your spending habits, and two, I don't think there's a point where it's anti-productive, obviously. And that's one thing you guys will get better with, like, or get more experience in. And like, brokers sometimes just don't shut up, which is why I'm good at running these calls. I'm an agent. I don't shut up. we think if we talk a lot, it's productive. When if you're talking to the same person, there's like a level of hits where it's no more, the production isn't there anymore. Like you're just killing time. So that's how I would approach that conversation. I hope that helped. I know it's a long-winded answer, but that's just kind of my 2 cents on that. And you never know, they may tell you information that on that deal that might work. Like I had a deal here in LA where I called the person, they're like, I want double what it says on Zillow. I'm like, okay, I don't think Zillow's like the best place to go to price properties, but when you're telling me you want double, why? Like, what the heck are you talking about? Like that yeah, you guys are thinking like that's ridiculous, right? They're like, oh, we're almost done building 2 more units on it. I'm like, oh, you have my interest now. Like, all right, now let's have a conversation because I'm interested now, and I have a buyer lined up for it. So I'm like, okay, that I didn't have all the answers. Like a simple question turned a really bad deal and made the seller sound crazy into, oh, okay, I kind of get it now. Trust me, that doesn't happen. Most of the time they have nonsense anyway, but you get my point. I hope I helped with that one. And then any other questions or anything else you want to add?
Hi, Ed. I might as well just ask it.
Go for it.
Here to get as accurate information as possible from the broker and a build relationship. I am an agent. I'm a broker myself, but is it also good to be selective and call out their BS if they're like huffing puffing and take notes that, okay, this agent's this way and then that agent's that way?
So 2 questions. Are you a broker in the place you call for multifamily?
Oh no, I'll be an investor.
But is it like in your backyard? Like I don't call my backyard for brokers.
No, I just go network with them and sometimes I go have lunch.
Perfect.
But this is like in out of state.
Yeah, so out of state I always just take notes on what people are saying, regardless of 2 brokers in the same office with the same physical address are saying different things. Because I look at it like this, especially in the multifamily space where there are so many question marks and so much like it's take it for interpretation kind of thing. It's like if I asked you guys, what's the cap rate in your local city? You're all gonna you can all live in the same city and you'll all give me a different answer. To some people it's 6, to some people it's 5, to some people it's 7. What part of the city? You know what I mean? I would say take everything with a grain of salt anytime a broker says it, because you always want to verify everything, which is why, again, I'm a big proponent of this is if you're calling in a market that you truly intend to invest in, find somebody there. Have a team, have boots on the ground. If you don't know anybody there, find someone that does. For example, this property in Florida that I'm hopefully going to be in contract soon for. The entire team was there. My entire team was there this past weekend. I couldn't make it. They all drove there. I can't drive there. It's in Florida. I'm not driving anywhere that far. It took them longer to drive there than I would have flown. But it's the idea that I know they know people there. One of them's like, yeah, my broker. He's like, yeah, one of my friends from college lived in that town. Okay, perfect. Or one of my friends went there. Cool. One of the guys is like, oh, I took a trip down there. I'm going to just drive by the property. Perfect. So it's having those boots on the ground to verify anything the broker tells you goes a long way. In terms of rents and like activity, I think your best friend is always going to be property management company. Because most commercial agents are not sitting there renting out individual units. If they are, you don't want them as a broker to begin with. That just takes too much time. It's such a small drop in the bucket for someone who's negotiating a $20 million deal the next day, you know? That's more of a residential agent's area, you know, right? So commercial agent's not gonna do that. Who's gonna know that better than anyone? It's the property management company who's filling those units every week, every month. They know how long the waiting list is. They know how many people are walking through the door. They know what price point is gonna get people interested. And they know, hey, across the street, they have XYZ amenity, but we don't, that's why we're less. For example, if you look at CoStar, if you look at the MLS, if you have access to it, if you look at Zillow, wherever you're looking at rental numbers, the agent may be 100% right based on what they see, but the property management company is going to actually know the difference between the two buildings. And that's huge, especially when you're talking about hundreds of units or even tens of units, let's say. Those dog park, the better parking, the washer dryer, the laundry, how's that set up? Different features and amenities on a building are drastically going to affect the rent. What if one building charges less because they have a bill back program with the utilities, which pushes it higher than the guy across the street, in the building across the street? All of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I would rather be that building that's charging less in rent because they have more additional income. So that's a huge part about it. And I live in LA. I throw a rock, I'm gonna hit a realtor. Everyone's gonna have a different opinion. It's like that in every market. One thing that I like and one tool, actually, let me see if I could jump and show you guys this. If you go on Crexy and you type in a market, you'll be able to see how many transactions a realtor has done recently. So one thing I learned that I didn't realize is Crexy stands for Commercial Real Estate Exchange something site or something like that. But you get my point.
I didn't even.
So essentially what it does is it allows you to like verify the activity of the agents you're calling. And I'm not saying that, I don't think you can ever call a wrong agent, but you'd like to have some track record, right? Especially if they're gonna be batting for you. Because at the end of the day, if they're gonna be representing you on a deal, you want to make sure that they put their reps in, you know? Let me see. Okay, cool, I'm at the right place. So if I share my screen real quick. So can you guys see my screen? Yeah, okay, cool. So here's just on the homepage of Crexy website. On this right side right here, you see find a broker. So you click that and then you can just punch in kind of the area, the location you're looking to do that, and it'll give you a nice little activity of all of the agents in the area. So you can do it by location, the broker specifically, association, which is that referring to their MLS association? I think so. Listing sold, you can put a minimum and maximum, which is helpful. So this is just something, and honestly, you could just then get their phone number right here and give them a call. So there's that factor of it too. So let's say Dallas. And then once you go through there, it's very easy to just be like, all right, I'm gonna call this agent. It's a good way to get reps in. One thing that we kind of mention a lot on these calls is you're never gonna run out of agents to call, so don't be scared to call one. Shoot, I can call an agent, butcher the call them in 2 months, and they won't remember me. That's how I look at it. Still 95 active listings. That's a lot. Why haven't they sold? 116 active listings, also a lot. 21 sold, that's good. So you can see their numbers here. You want to call any of them, just click their name, give them a call. And I think even on here, if I'm not mistaken, it does also show you their listings, which is helpful. Because you can actually ask about a specific one if it interests you. But you guys get the gist of that. Any questions on that? No?
No, I just want to say thank you for clarifying. It's like aggressively making contact, but also very conservative with their them projecting the numbers and marketing.
Yeah, for the most part, when I'm running an OM or like I'm running the numbers on it, here's how I look at it. You can go off of their rental numbers initially. At least this is my approach. I'll go off of the rental numbers they suggest initially, but then once conversation gets a little more serious, then I'll do a deep dive into it. Like, I'm not scared to put out an offer without having every single number verified. Because at the end of the day, you still have to go see the property. You're still gonna have a lot of people that are gonna put their eyes on it. And another thing that's gonna help a lot is you're writing an offer based off of their numbers. Now I never want to go into a deal saying I have to reduce it because of XYZ, or I have to with intention on reducing the price. I don't like that. But with such big properties and so many units, you're probably gonna find something. It's just the reality of it. To think all these units are perfect or all these buildings are perfect is a stretch. Could it happen? Yeah, of course. Is it usually gonna happen? Probably not. But you want to start the conversation with the broker first, and if anything, or if you want to just have a rule of thumb, anytime you get a number from a broker, take off like $100 off of rent, for example, and play a little safe. But if you're also out of state, which I have to do being in California, and which a lot of people do just out of preference, it goes back to have a team, have someone there batting for you. Like, my broker went above and beyond, and now he's part of the GP team. So it works out. But guess what? Now I know every single deal that comes to this table, guess who's going to? I've become his primary buyer because now we're on the same team, like literally on the same team on property. So every single deal is like, okay, if we can run that one smooth, let's just keep doing it. We get first look on every single thing that comes to the table. So definitely having someone in your corner there is going to help you so much.
Hi, Edward.
Yeah.
Hi, my apologies. I joined late. I was caught on a work call. So
You're good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Hi, Queenie. So I am very new. I just started the program a few weeks ago, so I'm still going through the 4-week foundational training. So I apologize if what I'm asking has already been covered. I don't want to inconvenience the rest of the.
Oh, you're good. Ask away.
Yeah. So I have not started making broker calls yet, but I know that it is very important to be able to have a broker to work with who can send you these deals. And I very strongly feel like this was already covered. So again, I apologize to everyone. But some of the things that I was told was to start reaching out to brokers who are not in the areas that I want to work with in order to get some practice speaking with them. And then once I feel a little bit more comfortable, then move over to the areas that I will be focusing on. But I don't really know how to talk to them yet, because when I was watching the foundational training, some of the stuff that Tyler was saying, he knows this stuff from 20 some odd years of investing experience. So the stuff that he can saying about basis points and, all this other stuff, I don't even know what a basis point is. So how exactly should I be approaching these brokers to talk to them so they don't just write me off, to be able to know what to say to them, what to ask them, how to respond to what it is that they are saying to me?
So the best way to do that is, I would definitely watch the older videos, like we have it on YouTube and stuff, but just to go over it real quick, I'm very big on call with a purpose. Like, what's the intention of the call? You're always on call to build that relationship, and it makes it a lot easier when you call about a problem. For example, I think it was earlier on this call, we were saying, if you don't like a deal that is like that agent is the listing agent for, give them a call about that property. Tell them, I like the area. Say what you like about it. Like, these are the things that fit my buy box. For example, the example we had,
what was that term you just used? These are the things that meet my what?
The criteria that meets your buy box.
Buy box. Okay.
Your buy box. So Ronald, if I come to you and I'm like, hey Ronald, I'm the agent. Ronald, what are you looking for?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're asking me right now?
That's your buy box. Yeah. What is it?
Oh, okay. I think I recall them saying,
No, what's your
50 units or more, in, what is it? I'm still trying to remember all of this. That's a lot of information. So I think it's, C and B properties and B to A areas, 50 units or more. Is that correct?
if that's your buy box? Yeah, that's fine.
Well, I think that's what they
The right
said.
answer.
I
There's no
believe
right
that's what they said. That's what we should be focusing on in the coursework, but it's a lot of information, so I'm tripping over stuff. So sorry about that.
So there's a few things that you're gonna have, like it's kind of like it's like the 30-second elevator pitch. If you guys, everyone's, or if you haven't heard about it, ask me later. But essentially, it's like if I ask you this, you know exactly what you want.
Okay.
You know? It's like you go to your favorite restaurant. You don't look at the menu. You know what your favorite food is. Someone asks you what's your favorite thing on the menu. You know it. Simple, easy. Like it's your spot. You know what they have. You know what you like. You know how they're gonna make it every time.
Okay.
It's like second nature. With the buy box, it's really important to know what you want, but be open to anything. You never know what good deal could come out from a specific agent that you may have not entertained earlier. So I would
Okay.
never say no to any deal, personally. But again, that's just me because I'm more aggressive. Everything's far away from me. I'm not driving distance to any property I go see or I underwrite. So I'm down for anything. I don't care if it's in Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Carolina, Florida, Georgia. It doesn't matter to me. All far away.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
much more open, you know. But
Right.
when it comes to talking to them, it's, hey, this is the property I'm calling you about. This is your listing. Yeah, okay, cool. Looking for stuff in the area. This just specifically doesn't fit what I'm looking for. Either there's not enough upside, it's not in the pocket I like, or it needs more rehab than I might be able to do, or it doesn't need enough rehab, to be honest. That could be a
Right.
reason too. But when you go into the conversation saying, hey, I like ABC, but I'm looking for more of XYZ, you're really just telling them what you're looking for. If they have any additional questions, and you'll run into those, you'll just realize, you'll get an idea of what those questions are with more reps. Like an agent may ask you, okay, what's the cap rate you're looking for? Personally, I don't love that question. If an
Why?
agent asks me, listen, I don't look at the cap rate. I care about the opportunity. I can have a bad cap rate on a property, but if you're telling me the seller is going to reinvest or sell a carry 20%, I don't care what the cap rate is. That helps me. Like that's a deal I'm now interested in. Does it have a great assumable loan? Cool. That's another thing I'm interested in.
Okay.
How long is that loan term? 7 years, 9 years? Sweet. I'm in. Like I'm interested.
Because you're looking at unloading the property in less than 5, like generally 3 to 4. So a 10-year loan term still remaining on an assumable loan is beneficial to you because you'll have lower payments. Is that it?
Yes, I have lower interest rate, but not only that, this is where you have to kind of be careful. It's hard to bank on this, but if I have an assumable loan that expires in 9 years, after 4 or 5, I can let someone else take it over.
Okay.
I have flexibility.
Okay, that's good to know.
And if the seller's carrying 10 years, I can just transfer that over to the new buyer too.
Okay.
You can never go wrong with securing long-term debt, because if the debt doesn't make sense anymore and rates are lower, refinance. That's a good problem to have. The bad problem to have is, oh my God, my loan is coming due. Damn it, rates are higher now than they were when I locked this up. All my costs went up. It's like, oh, okay, I took all the progress I made. I took 3 steps back now.
What do you do in a situation like that then? If like the market turns?
There's nothing you can do. It's part of the business.
Okay.
Did you factor that into your initial underwriting? For example, anyone who's familiar with the Michael Blank calculator, the STA one, if anyone sees the variable tab, I've done it so much, it's like off the top of my head at this point. You go to the variable tab, you look at the last line, it says cap rate bump. You should have put a small percentage, like 0.15 or 0.25, whatever. you're putting in a buffer of that many percentage points every year. So if cap rate I'm buying it today is at 6, I put a 0.15 or 0.25 for easy math. 4 years later, it's gonna go up by 1 cap rate. So I'm gonna be selling it at a higher cap rate, which means it's gonna negatively affect my pro forma, my sales price, which means I've just created a buffer. I have a 1 point buffer. If anything goes wrong and cap rate's 1 point higher, I've built that into my numbers. If it's lower, shoot, I've hit the jackpot. That's 1% more of cap space that I have the ability to tell my investors, hey, look what I did. You can never go wrong with underwriting too safe unless unless it's tough fault, or you're just rejecting every deal because you're too conservative. That's where it can bite you. But if you're like, hey, I love this deal, let me just add some like additional measurements to make sure I'm not far left field, or if XYZ goes wrong, I'm not screwed, then
Right.
you're putting the proper stuff in place.
Okay.
I
Okay. So
have a question. And you said earlier that you could call, how often should you call the broker? Like should you call once a month, or if you speak to him, you have a conversation with him, then how soon should you call him back again?
Depends how your last conversation ended. If you're like, hey, you have this property, I'm interested, but it's not right for me at the right price. Let me call you in a week, see if anything changes. Or if your call ends says, hey, I'm gonna do some more homework, let me see if I can make this deal work, then you just call them whenever, like give it a few days, like 2 to 3 days. But if it's like, hey, nothing happened with the call, right? This property, they call you, they tell you it's under contract. Like that property that you initially called for, kiss it goodbye. And you're just trying to build a relationship with that broker, even if like a weekly text, like it shouldn't take that long, you know? Or if you just think about them, like maybe you text them 1 week, the following week you give them a quick call, hey, just calling, hope everything's well, hope you had a great weekend, do you have anything coming up? These calls, you don't want every call to be as long as your first one. Like the one I have recorded from Peter is like a 15-minute call. You can really call a broker, have a 4-minute, 3-minute conversation. Hey, hope you had a great weekend. Got anything new? No. All right, cool. Let me know if you do. That's all. Nothing crazy. Holidays are my favorite time of the year. It's so easy to call anybody, sellers, brokers, lenders, anybody. You just call because you have a reason to call. But during the week, if you like, also remember this, you should make yourself like someone that they want to talk to. And how you do that is like, hey, I can close. Remember, they don't have other jobs. That's their 9 to, like that, not the 9 to 5, their livelihood. And remember, no broker, nobody will ever get paid on a deal unless it closes. You want to instill the confidence in them, like, I can do this. I have people backing me that will do this. I want to be your next big check. And when you put that faith in them, they're more likely to send you deals. They're more likely to send you off markets. They're gonna be calling you. I have some brokers that call me now. I'm like, dude, I stopped looking there like months ago. Like, stop calling me. Like, I'm not even in that market anymore. I just was at the time, you know, but because I put into their head that like, hey, anytime you find something great off market or whatever, let me know. Or they'll just do a random check and follow up. Maybe 1 week's too much. Do it every 2 weeks. Initially, though, you want them to remember you. Like, oh yeah, I found like. Let me ask you this: if a broker brings you a deal and they tell you it's off market, who are you thinking of first? Because everyone here is thinking of someone that they would take that deal to help them with, right? Who's that person? Because that person left that impression on you, like they can get this done, they can help me with this, they can take me to the finish line, and they're gonna reap the benefits with my help. You could take, if it's a good deal, anyone will help you with it. It's who's top of mind for you. That's really what it comes down to. Wow, this hour went by fast. Jesus, what the heck? It's okay. not ready for, I guess we're not finishing that phone call today because we still have 15 minutes left, but that's fine. This was honestly fun. I love talking to you guys. So I hope that helps. One thing I would say, especially if you have called brokers, haven't called brokers, thinking about when to call a broker, don't overthink it. I agree, Ashley. Don't overthink it. Ashley, you're licensed, right? You're an agent? Where at?
Connecticut and New York.
Okay, perfect. Guys, if you called Ashley, would any of you be nervous? Like, you literally, I'm an agent, Ashley's an agent. What's wrong with talking to us?
We talk a lot. Sometimes too much.
We're no different. Like, you're just calling another person asking about a property. If they start questioning you and going through all this, like, hey, I'll get back to you. Like, let me ask my team. Like, I'm just trying to make the introduction to the agents that'll help my team grow. I'm new to this. I've been saying I'm new to real estate for 5 years. I use it to my advantage. And at the end of the day, you guys are all talking and volunteering and having fun here. We've never met. What's the difference? You know, I'm a stranger to all of you. Hopefully not too much going forward. Like, I love to meet you guys and talk to you guys more, but it's no different. You're literally just calling someone another human being and having a conversation. Honestly, I find it way harder talking to sellers. Sellers are just ruthless. They're mean. Agents at least have a little composure. Sellers are terrifying. And I talk to them all. I talk to more sellers than I do brokers nowadays. If that's my TED Talks, I guess.
I have a question. So, would you suggest calling a broker just to establish a relationship with him, although you don't have a specific deal to talk about?
100%. Especially if you know they're involved in it. The best way to do that is honestly just call, hey, I'm a local investor. We're looking for X, Y, and Z. Just wondering if you have anything coming up, or if you have anything that's not online, or if there's anything you can help me with. I'm just calling to introduce myself, and I want to make sure if you do see something, you think of me. And they're gonna ask you like, oh, what are you specifically looking for? 50+ units, CB class neighborhood. I don't worry about too much cap rate because I like to structure a deal that works for me and my investors. The cap rate's not the most important thing because I'm also doing a value add. Like, what do you think a cap rate looks like on a building with 40% vacancy? It's bad. There's no other way to cut it. Does that mean it's a bad deal? No. I want opportunities. And if they have too many deals that they're sending you for you to underwrite, it's a good problem to have. Like, I'd rather have too many than not enough, especially in a market where it's hard to find a deal, to be fair. So it's not like we're swimming in deals and everyone's like hundreds of units are closing every week. It's not that easy in this market. Are people closing deals? Yeah, I'm about to open escrow on one, hopefully, if everything goes well, but it didn't happen overnight. And I put myself around the right people, which is a broker who knew what they were doing and was very good, took advantage of a situation. For example, I'm getting a contract for 120 units that was listed as 86 units. How many people do you think noticed that? I didn't know it. My broker brought it to me. I had no idea. I was like, all right, cool. I found out like a few weeks after. So just surround yourself with people and like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is what my team can do. This is what my team has done. I think that's very important. And I actually was having this conversation with Neil earlier, who was on this call. I love and respect all of you on this call. If you think you can do this alone, it's crazy. That like in this past 2 weeks from when this deal became serious to like where we are now, like we've walked the property, well, not me, but my team, because I couldn't be there. To think you can do this alone is crazy. I don't recommend it to someone who's been doing it for 20 years to do it alone. You have to have a team. You have to have people who fill the holes that you aren't great at. I've never raised capital before, but I called one guy who called another guy who might have one guy that can fund an entire deal for me. I like to I like to underwrite. I like to talk to people. I like to strategize. I like to work the numbers. I like to asset manage. I like to be an operator. I know what I like to do. Now, do I have to do all of those on every deal? No, not at all. I can plug myself into where I'm needed. I know what I'm good at, right? If someone asked me today, Ed, I found the best deal in the world. How much money can you raise tomorrow? I have no idea. I don't know. It's not my strong suit. I'm gonna work hard at it. I'll give it my best shot. But if we're relying on me, sorry guys, it's not gonna be a fun day at the office. Because I know where my skills are. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. I might be able to raise $3 million with a few phone calls. But one thing I do know is I know people who can raise me money without me having to think about it. And that is very valuable. So if you love talking to brokers, run with it. If you love raising capital and you know that's your strong suit, run with it. If you're like, hey, I can turn a bad deal into gold because I'm great at operating, run with it. Just make sure you put people around you who are good at the other stuff. That's, I think, the most important part. And when you have that like confidence backing you, one more piece of advice, and I'll finish it with this one. If you haven't done a deal in multifamily, and I'm saying build a team, don't go find 5 other people who've never done a deal. It sounds great, but what happens when you run into stuff that no one was anticipating or prepared for? This game is the most you don't know what you don't know. You know, I'm learning stuff every day. Trust me, I practice what I'm saying. I want to be the person in the room who doesn't know what is going on half the time. So I'll either ask later or I'll have a screen right here, I'll Google it. Like, straight up. Like, so the acronyms are still thrown out that I have no idea what they mean half the time. But that's because I'm surrounding myself with people who have done this multiple times, who can sponsor a $12 million loan, who can capital raise $7 million, and I don't have to worry about it. And I'm going to be in a room of operators who've managed thousands of units. So as much as I love that and I'm good at it, I'm only going to get better because I can't trade experience. I'm not even 30. These people have 30 years of experience. That's the biggest thing. And that's why being on calls like this is so, I like it, and I'm happy everyone's on here, but also all your answers aren't going to be here. It's go through the motions, put out LOIs, talk to brokers, talk to property management companies, talk to people who can sponsor loans, see what they're looking for. I think that's really important. You can find the best deal in the world, but if you don't have anyone to sign on the dotted line, it doesn't matter. It's literally useless. Like, you're just gonna get kicked out of the deal or lose it because you have no, like, I can't sign on a $12 million loan yet. Emphasis on yet. So when you guys need a sponsor for $12 million, I will hopefully be the one that can do that for you. But it's just really important to building a team around you. That's the most important part. Like, I couldn't go out to the property this weekend. What if I was the only person who could, like, I was the only person on the team and I had to be there? I can't be in 2 places at once. There's no way it's gonna happen. So that's something to keep in mind. Especially most of the time, we're not investing in our backyard. And once things go wrong, you want to make sure you have the right people in place to take care of it, because you have a lot of money at risk. Like, there's a lot of pressure when you purchase something like this. Like, the investor capital sounds like a big number, but it's other people's hard-earned money, so you don't want to lose that for sure. Sorry, I went on a rant again, but what else? You guys should be used to it already. Any other questions? Anything else? And then we can log. I'll actually see you guys tomorrow. You get to get me again tomorrow. When down payment goes hard at the beginning, was there more to that? It's, oh yeah, EMD alone. Well, okay, hold on. You bring up a great point, actually. Who knows what risk capital is? Okay, so risk capital. How much do you guys think it costs to do an inspection on 100 units? Actually, here, let's start smaller. On 20 units on one parcel, How much does it cost for an inspection?
I'll guess is about $5,000.
So we have 6K, 5K. I think actually you're trying to unmute 10K. So we did one in Phoenix and it was about 3,500 to 4,000. But that was not even counting suite. Like that was just rooms or the units, which they were pretty small units, and it was on one parcel. Like we walked it all in one day. What happens when you pull out of escrow? Who's paying for that? Risk capital is money that you have to factor for. You can find it, like, again, it goes back to, if you have a deal and you have to put up there, like, who's putting that risk capital? Who's putting the EMD is due in 3 days. Like, our EMD is $177,000. Who's putting that up? You have to have that. Like, there's no broker is going to take you seriously if you don't even have an EMD, or can show that you can even put the EMD down. And you have to have that the day, like the week of your PSA being agreed, which is huge. So EMD, risk capital. Oh, who's writing your PSA? Who knows what a PSA is? Your purchase agreement. That's a contract to even open escrow. Who's paying a lawyer for that? I really hope you're not reviewing it yourself. That's probably a couple $1,000s. You spent $1,000 and you don't even know what the property looks like yet. Like, I haven't even visited a property we spent thousands of dollars. You know, so it's really important to have people in place who are prepared to make those commitments, because that's money you're never going to see. Inspection money is not coming back to you. Lawyers' time is not going back to them, and that bill is coming to you. So it's really, like, it goes back to the whole idea of put people around you and make sure you know, if I find a deal in this market, who am I going to take it to? And the first deal, you're not going to get a lot. You're not getting a big piece of the pie unless you can raise a lot of capital. To be honest, that's the easiest way. If you want to have a big piece of a deal, go and get really good at raising capital. Or really good at finding great deals is another option. But raising capital is the single most valuable thing you can do in this business, because you can never have too much money available, I should say. See, the most important part of this whole thing, I'm not even that good at. I think. I don't know. We'll see. So keep that in mind too, because there's a lot of stuff that come with this that we don't realize until we're like, oh, what's an EMD? You need how much? Okay. Oops. But yeah, today was fun. We went over, but that's okay. We started a little late, so we'll get a pass on that. Anything else before we jump off? I appreciate the participation. You guys are awesome. Tomorrow night is the napkin underwriting call, which I will also be on with Will and Aldo. So that's kind of the point of this. Call a broker, get a deal. How do I underwrite it? Napkin underwrite it tomorrow. And then bring us questions. If you have a deal you want us to run through the napkin on, we can do that. If there's any additional questions, my phone number is in my name. Shoot me a text. Or if you just want to hear me ramble again, I'm always available. So yeah. Good night, guys. Good talking to you guys. And I look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thanks, Ed.
Bye. Take care, guys.
All right.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
You got it. Later.